Hey y'all, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. I'm Susan, your hostess, and we are making Old South lime pickles. Now, I received a box of the Amish cucumbers over the weekend. It was approximately 1/2 bushel. So a half bushel of cucumbers is somewhere between 48 to 50 pounds of cucumbers. I don't know if I have that many or not. I did not weigh them. But we are working on a half bushel of cucumbers approximately. Now, the Old South lime pickle recipe was given to me by my neighbor down in Memphis, Tennessee. Her mother made these pickles for years and years and years, and it was her signature pickle, and her family loved them. And so when I began pickling, they gave me the recipe in hopes that I would make some pickles because her mother at that time was in her 80s and could no longer make them. I did make the pickles, and I gave her a jar, and her brother came up and he ate the whole jar thinking it was his mother's pickles, which was a compliment to me. I was so excited about that. And I ended up giving them a couple more jars of pickles to replace the jar that he ate. These are, to me, a very easy pickle to make because I've been doing it for so long. But, however, I do want to tell you, you do not want to breathe in the pickling lime. It is a powder. It's a very fine powder, and it will make your lungs irritated. So you don't want to do that. This recipe calls for 7 pounds of medium-sized pickles, or pickling cucumbers. It calls for 1 cup of Mrs. Wage's pickling lime. And I am going to fill up crocks and with everything that I have, and then add my pickling lime and water to my crocks. And that will sit for 12 hours. And then I will rinse and drain them. And then I will rinse them at least 3 times in cool water and soak for 3 more hours before I began pickling them. This process will take me approximately 2 to 2.5 days, start to finish, just because of the time that I have to allow them to sit and how many times I have to rinse and allow them to sit again. And of course, the canning process and then the cooling process. So it takes a little time to make these. So I want to tell you that on the front end. This is part 1 of a 2-part series, and I hope that you will enjoy every minute of it. Thank you. I've got 2 bowls of washed cucumbers. This is approximately 1/2 bushel of cucumbers, y'all. And I'm just going to cut the ends off, and that's going to get fed to the chickens, give them a little treat. And I'm going to slice these approximately somewhere between the 1/16 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch. You want them to kind of be uniform in the slices so that you can pickle them properly. And I've got my 2 bowls that I used earlier washed, clean, and ready to use. And I'm going to fill them up with water once the cucumbers are in here. And then we're going to move them over to the lime water bath. And it is pickling lime that I will be using. So as I'm cutting them, I'm kind of choosing cucumbers that are about the same length. They don't have to be exactly perfect, but you want to get them about the same length. And you also want to make sure that you don't have any of those prickly things sticking out of your cucumbers that's going to hurt your hand. So what I usually do is I wipe all my cucumbers down before I rinse them with a paper towel just to get those off. And I'm going to work through these. Now some of these may be bigger chunks. Like this one, it's a little bit big, so I'm just going to cut it in half and get it a little smaller. And get them in my bowl. And once I work through these, we will be back. Alright, y'all, this is about a half a bushel of cucumbers already sliced. They're soaking in water. And I'm just going to read a little bit of this recipe to you. You want to wash your cukes, remove a 1/16 inch from the blossom end and slice crosswise. And then you're going to, I always soak them in water for a few minutes, and then I'm going to move them over to containers with my pickling lime. Now, for every 7 pounds of cucumbers, I will use 1 cup of pickling lime, and then I will fill my containers up with water, cover them, and allow them to sit for 12 hours in the lime solution. You do not want to use aluminum containers. I use Crocs, and you'll be able to see my Crocs here in a moment. But this was a good 2 hours of slicing for me, and they are pretty uniform. Not perfect, but they are fairly uniform in size. And they're going to make really nice pickles, I do believe. This is the pickling lime that I use. It's been used for over 70 years. I added 1 cup to this. This is a butter churn. It was a Jim Dandy electric churn in its day. My neighbor bought me this when I lived down in Memphis. It was her mother's recipe that I started using, which was the Miser's Wages. And I'm going to go ahead and pour in water. We're going to get this mixed, and you do not want to breathe in that lime while you're doing this. So I'm getting some water. I'm just going to give this a good stir. And you want something long enough to reach the bottom of your container, because you are going to want to stir this a couple of times. I'm going to get it about half full with water, but I'm going to go ahead and start scooping out some of these pickles, these cucumbers, and getting them in there. And we're going to get this container filled up. If you're fortunate enough to get one of these, they're great to have. Because I work in large batches, I use multiple containers to do my pickles and the lime. I'm going to turn that water off. We're going to continue to fill this up. Because the cucumbers float, we're going to put a jar on top of it with some water in it to kind of hold the pickles down and cover this. And I still have plenty of room in there for more cucumbers. So we're going to get as many in here as we possibly can. and it is full. A pint jar with a plastic lid. I'm just going to set that in the top. And then we're going to lay a towel over the top of this. And I've got a towel underneath it because it's on a granite countertop, and I do not want to mess my granite countertop up. But that's all I'm going to do to this. I'm going to get the rest of these done in other crocks. We're going to get them set up, and you can use your crock pot crock, or you can go and buy the crocks for pickling at antique malls and so forth, but that's the idea. This is my crock pot crock, and I just took a ceramic plate and put over the top, and I'm going to cover this with a cloth like I did the big jar in the back. There that one is, and I have another one just like it. This is a small, probably about a gallon, maybe 3/4 gallon pickling jar. I had some pickles left, or cucumbers left over. They're in there. I've got it covered with a plate. Really don't need to put a towel over it because the plate's covering everything. And we're going to let this sit for 12 hours. Well, I have my pickles in the crocks in the lime water, and they are sitting, and they will sit approximately 12 hours. Now, they can sit longer. It's not going to hurt them to go a little bit past that, but 12 hours is a good crisp pickle, and that's what the lime will do to your pickles, is it will crisp them. So when you bite into them, they will have a little bit of a crunch. And that's one of the reasons we like these. The other reason we like these is because it's akin to a bread and butter pickle, or it's kind of a sweet and sour flavor that you get from the pickle. And it's very, very tasty. And I use this in potato salad. I can use this on sandwiches. We can just eat them out of the jar. Serve them with soup as a side with some cheddar cheese. It's really good that way. And there's so many other uses for these pickles. My favorite use for them is when our church has their homecoming, and I will set out a couple of jars of my homemade pickles on the tables, and usually somebody is asking at the end of the day if there's any left, if they can take the rest of them home. They're that good, y'all. And I do give these away quite often. I have people that will ask for them every year when they find out that I have made my Old South lime pickles. They are that good. So I appreciate you for watching. Be here tomorrow, same time, same place, and hopefully we'll get this process finished and you will see a finished product.